Let's start the discussion. Today our topic is modal verbs. Modal verbs, I will say these are like somewhat like helping verbs, if you understand. Let's today discuss about three of them. Modal Verben in Deutsch, modal verbs English, whatever. So today we are going to discuss about three such modal verbs. What are these? Let's say können, müssen, and wollen. There are two more, we'll discuss later. So let's see the conjugations. Our table will require ish, du, es oder sie, wir, ihr, sie oder sie. This is capital. Okay. Now let's see the conjugations first. The top three verbs I'll write in blue color when I try to differentiate from the normal conjugations. First one is ich kann, not kyona, ich kann. Du kannst. Sie kann. Wir können. Ihr könnt. Sie again können. So what we see, the top three, sorry, I'll use the black color again, the last three parts. For regular verbs, I'm using regular, what we expect, I'm using black color, and for irregular ones, I'm using blue color. Please get that. So wir können, normal, ihr könnt, normal again, as we expect. Sie again, können. So these are expected. The top three are irregular. You have to kind of remember this when we do our conjugations and our next exercises. Coming to müssen, ich muss, no umlaut, okay, please remember, or muss or something, no, or du musst, sie again, muss. So from where, sorry, it's regular, where it is müssen, ihr müsst, sie müssen. Okay. Coming to wollen, which is like want. So I'll try to write the meanings here in English. This is like can of English. This is must of English. This is like want in English. Okay. So what about this conjugation for wollen? Ich will, du willst. Sie again, will. See, the top three parts are irregular. Then onwards, regular only. Wir wollen, ihr wollt, sie wollen. Got it? So this is the first thing when you talk of modal verbs. These are the conjugations. You can see the top three parts, I'm using the blue color to indicate, each time are irregular. The bottom half is as expected, regular only. Okay. So this is to be understood first. First we need conjugations to go through anything. Very important, especially when it's related to verb. We need to always understand conjugation. Okay. So now let us understand the concept of modal verbs. So what is this concept? What do we need to learn about this? So there are two or three things that you need to kind of remember. So first thing, let's see this in English. See what I keep saying till B1, the concepts are fairly similar to English. You can learn through association. You don't need to put extraordinary efforts and learn them separately. I don't really recommend that. Those who want to independently learn maybe or don't have knowledge of English language, they can kind of do that. But those who have understanding of English language, that's not really a necessity. So we can associate with English language, and let's see. For example, first things you should say know about these modal verbs is They can't exist independently without context. So their existence needs another verb. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, for example, if I simply say what I can or I must or I want, let's say, will you automatically understand what I want or what I can or what I must? Think about it. No, without context, you wouldn't. Okay. So, most important thing when you are discussing this modal verb concept is there is a need for another verb under normal circumstances. Yes, you already know what the context is. You might say, I want this, I want, or I don't, or I must, or I can't, or I can, whatever. But when the context is understood, when the context is not understood, that's not going to work out. Okay. Right. So let's see this with examples. So now when I say this thing, you want to say I can see I can eat, for example. So you can say ish. Now you see can you have to use. Please remember you have to use can because ish can. When you want to say I can, ish can. Let's say something I can eat a cake maybe. Einen Kuchen. Einen Kuchen. Essen. Okay, so remember these things. Ich kann and Essen. Okay. Now we'll discuss about this. So first, I can eat or I must sleep. Ich muss schlafen. Ich muss schlafen. I'll come back to this again with positional verb difference. So once we know the conjugations, we can build on this. Okay. So ich kann einen Kuchen essen. Okay? I can eat a cake. Okay? So now with another verb, essen verb, we can explain what I can. Okay. Suppose I want to say I must sleep. Sleep we require in English. Deutsch also, ich muss schlafen. Or jetzt schlafen, now sleep or whatever. So when you use modal verb, first thing you need to remember is there is a necessity for another verb. Another verb is essential under normal circumstances. Yes, context is understood, then it's a different case. Normally, you require another verb usage. Without another verb usage, I want, you want to say, I want to drink something. Okay? To drink is required, right, in English. Otherwise, you don't know what you want, right? Or anybody wants. So, similarly, I must sleep, I must work, I can eat. I can go away somewhere, whatever. I can go there, whatever. So go. You see, there is an existence of another verb. Or I can eat. Eat is another verb. Or sleep. I must sleep. Sleep is the other verb. Or when we say I must work. Work is another verb. I want to drink. Drink is another verb. So basically, when first thing you need to remember is when you use these modal verbs, you need the help of another verb to completely make sense. Second thing you need to know is the usage of the verb modal verbs. So when we use modal verb gets conjugated, other verb does not get conjugated. Now what does it mean? See, you can see this in English also. For example, I will say, simple present in English. I will say that I play. I will say I play. You play. Okay. But when it comes to he, what will you say? You will say he plays, right? So this is where conjugation very limited in English, but you can see this in third person singular. He plays. But what if I want to say I can play? I will say I can play. You can play. He can plays. Can we say this? I used he plays, right? Can I say this? He can play. Is it correct English? Obviously wrong. You will say he can play. He can play. So what you invisible, what is happening in English, even if it's not very obvious, the can is getting conjugated. Play is not getting conjugated. So this is the second concept you need to know, that modal verb gets conjugated. Not the other verb. Modal verb gets conjugated, not the other verb. So now in Deutsch also the same thing you can say, ich kann spielen. We'll come to that. Okay. So second thing you need to understand, second concept, modal verb, when we are using modal verb gets conjugated, not the other verb. Modal verb gets conjugated but not the other verb. Third thing, positional difference with respect to English. The difference is, whereas in English, same thing, you would have said, I can eat a cake, right? So I can eat, this is A basically. So I can eat. So what you are seeing, the modal verb and the other verb, they are right next to each other in English. But in Deutsch, what have you seen? Können, as you know, the second position is meant for conjugation. Können is conjugated in the second position. Sn has gone to the end of the phrase. The other verb has gone to the end of the phrase. Similarly, we can see some other example. Visible. So for example, I can play at 4. If it's Deutsch, you have to say ich. I'm sorry. So English I is capital, Deutsch ich is not capital. Ich kann 4 spielen. So what you are seeing here, in English, I can play. They're coming right next to each other. But what's happening in Deutsch? Kann is here, spielen is here. So second position modal verb, other verb in the last position. So this is what you are going to continuously see in English, in Deutsch. We will say auf Deutsch in German, pure German. We have to say auf Deutsch. So this is going to be the main difference. Yeah. So I'll just reiterate the concepts again. See, again I'll tell you. See, till B1, the concepts are pretty simple. With basic association, we can learn. Yeah, what the trouble will be with conjugations, little bit you need to learn always. That's always going to be there. Any foreign language, some sort of things are always going to happen. But basically, all in all, this is a basic concept. You can, with associations, you can get. With English, I totally use English to explain you. You see, for example, what's the first thing we discuss? There is another verb that needs to be used in a sentence. Another verb is required. Okay. So you cannot use modal verb just like that. I can, I must, I want. Without any context, it wouldn't make sense. So with context, ich. So ich kann, and then cook and I can eat a cake. Now I'm telling what I can eat. What I can, basically. What I can is what I can eat. What I can eat is a cake. So SN eat is the other verb that is required for this. Okay, that's the example I gave you, first one. Then when we use modal verb, what we need to remember is modal verb gets conjugated, not the other verb. So here you see, I explained you in English. I play, you play, he plays, you will say. But when it comes to Dutch, I can play, you can play, you will again say he can play, can. Even though invisible, it's getting conjugated in English. Third, the difference between positions. You already can see ish can, I can, and then cook and SN has gone to the end, whether can eat is right next to each other in English. Similarly, I can play it for ish can vier spielen. Okay, spielen has gone to the end of the phrase. That's the first thing you need to remember. That's a basic concept of modal verb. We'll shortly see some examples with respect to modal verbs. That's it for now. Yeah, choose.